I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Tricia.
I see Councilmember Matt Watkins is absent. Councilmember Bill Earl.
Here.
Mayor Bill Reinhardt.
Here.
Vice Mayor Rick Johannes.
Here.
And Councilmember Larry.
Do we have a motion to excuse Matt?
I will make that motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Public comments. Okay. Move on to the consent agenda. Questions? Or do you have any comments? Ed? Any motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business. FY 2024-2025 budget update, right?
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. The FY '25 budget had a projected deficit of $310,000. We expect to end the year hopefully with a small surplus. However, there could still be some unexpected expenses that come in later this month or July that are for the current fiscal year. Fund balance continues to be very healthy. Amended budget is not required if we expect to finish under budget for each fund. So to give us some flexibility, we're not gonna make any changes to that in case something comes in and we lower it, then we have to do a corrective action plan with the states. Won't be doing those unless we need to make a change that there's an increase in something. So that's my update on that budget, if there's any questions.
Great. Public hearing 2026 fiscal year budget and millage rates, right?
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. A public hearing is required prior to the adoption of the new budget and millage rates for the FY 2026 budget and allows the public an opportunity to comment.
I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
All those in favor? Public hearing. And then back out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I make a motion to go back down.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who's second, right?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Adoption of the 2026 fiscal year budget and millage rates. Resolution 25-6-13, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. In your packet, you'll have the 2025-26 fiscal year budget, along with my extended comments on the budget and the city's financial situation. This budget projects just over $1.7 million in general fund expenditures and has a projected deficit of just over $290,000. Give you some highlights. The general fund has $75,000 for buildings, which could be used towards the City Hall Police Department project. Continuing to have to transfer about $10,000 every year to the cemetery fund. Fire dues for this year are $39,439. We have $22,000 in the budget for repair of the salt barn, $23,000 for repaving Greenville Park. Major Streets has $25,000 for street maintenance and a $200,000 transfer to local streets. Local Streets has $150,000 for street maintenance, $225,000 for a potential Compton Street road project with new curb, gutter, sidewalk, and lead service line replacement. That grant was recently submitted. $125,000 for non-motorized work for sidewalk improvements and possible trail project with connecting sidewalks. $85,000 in the water fund for expenses related to replacing lead and galvanized service lines. Due to the Headley Amendment, the city's millage rate was reduced again this year. This time it's reduced by 0.265 mils from 14.8 to 14.53. Since 2019, the city has lost 2.27 mils on our millage rate, just over that. In your packet, you can see a breakdown year by year from going back to 2018. If you're unfamiliar with how Headley works, some information from the MSU extension. In 1978, Michigan voters approved an amendment to the Michigan Constitution known as the Headley Amendment. This amendment includes a number of provisions related to state and local taxes. These became sections 25 through 33 of Article 9 of the state constitution. This article is about section 31 concerning local government taxes. Section 31 created several new laws related to government taxation, requiring voter approval for any tax increases or new taxes established after the Headley Act, limiting property tax revenue resulting from property tax assessments increasing, limiting revenue collected to the amount the millage originally was generated with factor for inflation. As our taxable values increase, our millage rate is usually reduced so that the taxpayer doesn't see as big of an increase. The city charter allows up to 20 mills to be levied. To get back this lost tax revenue, voters would need to approve what is known as a Headley override. If we wanted to get any of that millage rate back. During the housing crisis, our millage rate stayed the same, but our taxable value just decreased significantly. Proposal A and the Headley limit our ability to get back that revenue, but there's no limit to the loss of taxable value that the city can see. This trend of millage rate reductions is very concerning and is the reason why our tax revenue has stayed mostly stagnant. The city will need to continue to look for different ways to try and increase revenues as our costs continue to rise. Any questions or comments on the budget?
My only comment is, once we get through the budget and maybe just after the first year, we can maybe have a workshop and look this all over to see if there's a better solution. Because if we're operating on 1978 taxes, you think of what we've done in just the last 5 years for modernize the city, the amount of people we have. I think we need to look at this. I know trying to pass a Headley rollback is extremely difficult. There's a lot of communities that have done it, but that's something that I think as a council we should look at and talk about.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, just like anything that we've done workshops on and stuff, it's always, if nothing else, it's a good learning time for all of us.
Exactly.
So,
Brings us up to par.
yeah.
I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
Just as a side note on the Headley's a constitutional amendment. For those people that are not aware, it looks like this fall on the Michigan ballot, it will be time for a con vote, constitutional convention vote. Michigan's constitution requires a vote, I believe, every 17 years on whether to have a new constitutional convention and update it. Michigan Constitution has been updated, I believe, 5 times since 1835. when it first went into effect. Last time was 1963. There have been 3 votes since then. All 3 times it's been turned down, but each time it gets closer and closer. There is some belief in some political circles that there is a possibility this year that there will be enough support for a new constitutional convention to basically rewrite the entire constitution, which would include the Headley Amendment. That's one of the things that could be considered. Something that certainly local governments, I was just reading a listserv, local governments should be aware that rewriting the Constitution is not something you want to do. It's a major undertaking, but there are some issues that could be dealt with, and this is a major one for local governments, so.
So if people think it needs done, they need to reach out to their local representatives.
Well, it's gonna be a vote on the ballot, though.
No, it'd be a vote on the ballot.
Yeah, it'll be a vote on the ballot in November. It'll be you and I and everybody else will decide whether or not to to call for a constitutional convention to update it. So that's always a vote of the people, not a vote of the legislature.
Nice. Okay, any more on the resolution 25-6-13?
Nothing.
Got a motion?
Make a motion to pass resolution 25-6-13.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. D, adopt 2024 International Property Maintenance Code Ordinance number 230, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Since we last adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, a new version of the code has been released. The city should re-adopt the 2024 code to stay current with the current version of the code. So in your packet is ordinance number 230 to re-adopt the new edition. A new code book is released every 3 years. If you're wondering. Any questions on that?
I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 230.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, E, adopt amended fee schedule resolution 25-6-14.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. In order to clarify fines for the International Property Maintenance Code and for zoning violations, staff has added these to the city's general services and zoning fee schedule. Also added were the new fees for food trucks, golf carts, and UTVs, and recreational fire permits. Any questions?
It's pretty dry.
Motion?
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 25-6-14.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. F, discuss corrective action plan for administrative consent for wastewater, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. When the city entered into the administrative consent order with Eagle in 2022, the city had to submit a corrective action plan, known as a CAP, for how the city was planning to address violations due to high flows at the wastewater treatment plant. A plan was submitted in 2023 with the assistance of Prine and Newhoff. At that time, there were significant grant dollars available through the Eagle SRF program for that 2024 funding cycle. So Prine and Newhoff advised the city to include all the major upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant, collection system, lining and grouting, lift station improvements at a price of $16 million. In 2023, the city applied for SRF funds in the amount of $24 million and then received 0 grant dollars from the state. At that point, the city switched engineering firms.
Okay.
Over a year after the city submitted the CAP, Eagle had still not approved our CAP. The city requested to be able to submit a new CAP and was given time to do so. Staff is very concerned that it will tie us to all of those improvements that we had in that plan. which obviously our ratepayers can't afford. In the new draft, we are requesting to do a new cap in 2028 after we review the data on the flows after the phase one collection system improvements are completed and the lift station project has been completed. We do not want to be committed to doing things that have no impact on I&I if we can't afford it. We know plant upgrades are necessary, but we have to do them in a way that the community can afford. So in the meantime, the city has been applying for multiple state and federal congressional funding requests to reduce the amount of loans that are needed. Right now, the city has a lining and grouting project underway and lift station project that'll begin in the spring of 2026. We've been provided with an updated draft cap at your table there. Part of the original phase one of the unapproved cap was $7.6 million for new headworks, return activated sludge and waste activated sludge improvements, SCADA system, and UV disinfection improvements. The city is not going to be able to complete those projects by the end of 2025. The lift station project will also not be completed in 2025. That'll start in spring of 2026. So we're looking for direction from council on the following time extension requests for the ACO. First, time extension for the completion of the lift station project, giving a completion date by December 31 of 2026. An extension of time for the phase one treatment plant cap projects until December 31st of 2031. Time extension for updated PPC cap projects until December 31 of 2031. A change to the project performance certification plan submittal from December 31st, 2030 to December 30, 2027, moving that date up. A change to the PPC completion and report submittal from January 31st, 2032 to January 31st, 2028. Submittal of an updated cap based on the findings of the PPC, including wastewater plant improvements and any collection system projects, and submit that by May 30 of 2028, along with project costs and implementation schedule. The revised phase one treatment plant cap projects would consist of roughly $500,000 for the UV disinfection system replacement, oxidation ditch rehabilitation of $900,000, influent pump replacement at a cost of $310,000, and finally headworks, grit removal and screening at a cost of $2.1 million, for a total of $3.810,000. If the city does not receive significant grant dollars for these projects, our sewer rates will continue to increase, which is not sustainable. Bill Etzler is here from Avon Marsh to maybe give your take on it, and then, go from there.
So as Brandon explained, the number one concern right now is that the city is in violation of the ACO. Because the projects that were designated to be completed by the end of this year, lift station, not going to be completed until next year. The other projects have not even been funded at this point. So the time frame for completion of those projects is unknown. As Brandon explained, when the first cap was put together, it was based upon the fact that there were hundreds of millions of dollars of grant money available to communities in order to repair, replace, fix these kinds of problems within their communities. Again, you were not selected, and so trying to build those projects without some sort of grant funding for the community. The financial analysis says that if you spend $8 million to do that, the annual increase for sewer rates in the community would be almost $480 per person or per household per year. We're all very cognizant that that's impossible. So over the last month, Brandon and the staff and I have been working on this request for an extension of time for these projects. The big change is that we're asking that there be no specific, well, I shouldn't say that the projects that have been identified in the cap that was not approved, that the completion date of those projects be pushed out. Secondarily, we're asking that the performance certification portion of the ACO be moved forward. And the reason that we're asking for that is, number one, the data that was collected and utilized to talk about improvements that were necessary at the wastewater plant were based on data from 2018 and 2019. That data is no longer valid. And it's no longer valid for a couple of reasons. First, leading up to the issuance of the ACO, there were more than 70 violations at the wastewater plant. That's really what caught Eagle's attention. It wasn't so much flow data as it was violations of your discharge permit limits. And that always causes concern with environmental agencies. The secondary part was that flow data showed that your plant's rated at 0.5. Leading up to 2021, that flow data, your plant was running at about 0.65 MGD. So obviously you were over that limit. What happened after the ACO was issued is that better flow data has been obtained, and flow is now down in the 5.55 million gallons per day, which is much closer to what your rated capacity is. And since April of 2023, there have only been 3 permit violations at the wastewater plant. I'm not going to hesitate to say it. It's who is operating the plant and how it's being operated. Tremendous improvement. And good on your part that change took place, because we have a good story to tell in requesting the time extension and requesting the change in how we're going about the process. Get the collection system improvements done, which includes the grouting, lining, lift stations. Then we do a performance evaluation of the system, get those results, see how they compare to what Eagle is requiring of the community. And then if there are projects that need to be done after we've done that study, then we would create a new capital improvement program that we would look to start funding. In the meantime, there are projects that do need to be completed at the wastewater plant. The influent pumps are well past their useful life. They take a lot of maintenance and repair. They're difficult for the staff to operate. The UV system, if it fails, and it's 1994, so again, well past its useful life, plant's gonna go into violation automatically because there's no other means of treating the waste flow. So we've got to find funding for that project. The oxidation ditch, because the headworks, grit removal and screening really don't work anymore as they should. The oxidation ditch is filled up with sludge. It's probably 30% impaired, which reduces treatment capacity. If it were up to its full capacity, the potential is that the plant could pass 0.75 MGD every day and never violate. So it wouldn't matter how much water we threw at the wastewater plant. If we had it cleaned out, all of the operational issues fixed, we could make the plant run better. The other side of this, and I won't get into the other projects because they're not quite as critical, but still need to be done. That cost is about $3.5 million, which is half of what's in the current cap for the wastewater plant. As Brandon has said, we applied for grants, always looking for funding sources. There is a distinct possibility that we may have to go out and take out another loan and raise rates, but it certainly wouldn't be $500 annually to fund that. We'd figure out a way to, get it down to the minimum. But Eagle is going to expect the community to do something in terms of working towards getting some of this fixed. So that's one reality that we have to face. And then finally, the big albatross hanging around our neck is there's PFAS in the system. And right now, there is no available funding to deal with remediation of PFAS. And so the numbers that I have given you don't include having to remediate PFAS. Because we know when we clean out the oxidation ditch, all of that, well, the testing that's been done indicates it's been contaminated. So we're going to have to deal with disposal. What that volume is, we've got to guess, but again, it's just another number that's in the mix that we really don't have. So, as Brandon explained, we've written the request for the time extension for the ACO. We would like your approval to submit that. We're still working on the draft CAP document because we want to make sure that that document flows with our time extension request. And until we have your approval on the extension request, there are a few things that we cannot put in to the CAP because we've still got to talk to your financial consultant about some of those things to complete that. And then our goal is to get this submitted to Eagle early next week. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Before that, I just want to clarify, the PFAS is only in the wastewater treatment plant system, not, there's none in the water.
Of course, the business that brought most of that in is no longer in business.
We're working with them on the funding remediation of biosolids, at least for the moment. So They're obtaining estimates for removal. And we told them we expect them to cover that.
Have we reached out to Wahlberg on that to see if there's any federal funding available for any of that, or maybe just a thought? Or what's the, is it Alyssa Slotkin that did her?
Well, we had our last meeting with Eagle on the PFAS grant study, and they don't know of any available funding. There was some, and a company reached out to us about doing that, but that's since been pulled by the administration.
We need a motion on this then? I don't know.
Yeah, make a motion to approve the direction that we're heading in.
I'd make a motion to approve the corrective action plan, or the
And the extension.
extension.
Request to Eagle.
Support.
So I support.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Can I go back to the read real quick and check? Okay. Did you have a public comment that you wanted to make?
I did, I have a letter that was going to be read at the meeting. You have that letter?
It was distributed by email to the council.
Yep.
I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
And it's in regards to the cat issue.
Yeah, it's about the cat issue that I have. So several neighbors signed paper with their addresses. We're going to do that, and they are eager to have somebody do something about this. I found out since talking to my neighbors that they had cats in their basements and dying in their houses. It's an awful problem.
Where's this at?
I live at 224 Fillmore Street, I didn't have to that. But should I read the letter? They told me to read it, but it was.
Yeah, we got it through
Oh,
email.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they both-
okay. Well, since I wrote the letter and I've been talking with my neighbors, I've had 2 homes where cats got in their basements and died, and another neighbor had a cat claw up the screen and had cats claw up the carpet of his boat, which is quite costly. And he also found a cat in their boat. So, they're like, sure, I'll sign that, no hesitation.
And you're not, I don't think you're the first person to come forward with issues with stray cats and stuff like that around town. There's been,
These are not strays.
oh, those aren't strays. I don't know.
No, it's got like 10 or more cats.
Oh,
and they're
well,
having
I think we
babies
do have an ordinance
constantly.
on the number.
Do you know where these cats come from?
There's no ordinance on cats.
It's not, I thought we had the number, I thought we had the number for cats too.
Yeah, we do not have any ordinance on cats.
So it's like you-
So we should have alligators.
Yeah, I mean, it can come here, but, yeah, I mean, a lot of communities have this issue. Some do things to try to help, some don't. It really comes down to who's going to enforce it and how are you gonna enforce it in a humane way. I think the best thing would be if there was an organization nearby that would trap and spay and neuter.
That's what I was told.
That would be,
Do live trap them, spaying. Rescue shelter.
Is there an organization that does that?
I think,
Yeah, I think they might be.
Orange County has connections with that, if I remember correctly.
yeah, there might be.
It's definitely something that we can look into though, and
But if they spay and neuter and release, at least it's gonna help with future populations.
yeah.
Might not address it immediately.
do we maybe need I don't know, this is just thought, but maybe to advise or revise an ordinance and put a limit for a number of cats like we do dogs and at least outdoor, I mean, I don't know. If they're claiming they have 10 cats and obviously they have to be grandfathered, but
I think that one of your biggest issues is how do you prove it's their cat?
Can't shoot fences with their cats. But I see
Because
them
there's
on
strays
the
around, how do you
Yeah.
prove? If this 6 are theirs, these 2 are not, I mean, I don't know how you prove
Because I see
the
seven,
numbers.
I see at least 7 or 8 that are undercover in your house, you know, she calls them by name.
That's the basic. Nobody owns up to it, you got nothing.
Worst part is we got a storm.
Steve, there's nothing the county does in animal control, is there?
Animal control doesn't deal with cats. The only time that they would deal with cats is if there is a reported neglect type issue where that's a criminal matter, but just the strays alone.
The people that put out tons of food, just, they attract them in their spot right away.
And once you feed them, they keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and animal control, county animal control mainly deals with dogs, but they will deal with other animals if it's a neglect, criminal, I guess like horses and other animals, stuff like that they do, but as far as collection and pickup of strays, they will not.
See, I had figured that's what it was, but I was just kind of grasping at any straws, because this is a really tough one. I never heard cats.
I know she keeps saying they're not strays, but I think legally, if they're just roaming the neighborhood, they're still considered strays, right?
Unless they're
Collared.
Collared.
Yeah, most of them have collars.
Yeah. I think that, they would care a little more.
I know there is a lot of cats runs around town,
Yeah, there's,
and you can't prove who's whose.
some of them pure feral cats.
Yeah, I get them in my yard all the time too.
Well, it's something we can discuss, something we can look at it, do some research. Try to come up with some solution. I don't know what we're gonna come up with.
So. It's kind of a difficult situation, really,
Yes.
from every angle.
It may take some discussion with the county and the county administrator for, looking at it from an animal control point of view, the way they do dogs. As Steve says, they don't want to deal with cats, but if there's enough pressure on the county to say, if you're gonna deal with dogs, you need to deal with cats,
Yeah.
you may be able to get some relief there.
Yeah.
Then they might be able to put us with an organization that can,
Deal with them. Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
rabbits, they're liable to get a bunch of possums and raccoons too, so.
Or skunks.
You spay and neuter them too.
I'm not the only home that has the problem, because I have 5, 6 houses I went to, and Fillmore, Winona, and Buchanan, and all have the same problem. They're like, please do something.
Is the problem from the same house that has the cats, or are there multiple houses with multiple cats?
There's 2 houses that have multiple cats.
That's. Yeah, I think we can probably get in touch with somebody at the county though and start there, don't you? And see what we can get moving forward.
For sure.
It'll be a tough one.
Yeah. We'll do what we can, see what we can,
Okay.
see if we can get any changes made or whatever. Yeah. And we appreciate you coming in and sharing too.
Thank you.
Definitely. For sure. Okay, G, discussion of 630 North Madison Street code compliance, Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. The building at 630 North Madison has been an eyesore in the city. as you know, for many years and is continuing to deteriorate. Tickets for violations of the International Property Maintenance Code were issued to the property owner on February 20th. And in May of 2025, after letters to address the issues were ignored, an informal hearing was held on April 3rd. During that hearing, the magistrate issued the fines outlined in the civil infraction tickets, but did not give an order to the owner to make corrections with any specific time period. Since there have been no efforts since then to improve the building, as I mentioned, a second ticket was issued. City Attorney Lillis would like to discuss some potential options and next steps for this property.
There's a number of options for you. Number one, the ordinance says that each day is a separate violation. The property owner to this point was in front of the magistrate. The magistrate only issued a fine. He paid the fine and walked away thinking that was it. Realistically, one way to deal with it is to simply issue a new ticket every single day. And the court will not be unsupportive of that. They understand that that may be the only way to deal with it. But so we would then have a series of hearings in front of the magistrate, and if the property owner wanted to make it formal in front of the judge about the property. But what they're limited to is pretty much, here's a fine for today, here's a fine for today, here's a fine for today. And eventually those fines are gonna get into the guy's pocket to the point that he's gonna do something, but it may take a while. The other option is you can file, that's in the district court. The other option is you can file, and this can be done in either district or circuit, and I would probably wanna think about which way to go on that one, which judge would be more sympathetic, is to ask the court to issue an order to remediate the property, and if the property owner fails to remediate within a certain time frame, that the city would then have the opportunity to go in, do the remediation, and charge the costs back as taxes against the property. Ultimately, what's likely to happen is the property owner won't pay the taxes and you'll end up with it anyway, unless somebody comes in and bids on property taxes. But that is a possibility. We have, and I will tell you, I've done that on behalf of a couple of other municipalities, townships in both cases, with Magistrate White, and she's been very good about that, which is why usually for equitable relief, you're supposed to go to the circuit court. But in this case, we can stay in the district court, and I think I would prefer to see us do that. But we could file a petition asking for remediation and asking that if he fails to remediate, you would have to come up with the money to do the remediation. Now, Brandon and I have talked about this. Part of the problem we've got is, in the other two cases I had, we had the county building inspector willing to say, building needs to be condemned. This time, the building inspector has said, these buildings they just need to have the windows fixed and the doors fixed there, and the bones are good. And we're sitting going, really? But we're not the building inspector. I mean, that's not a lot we can do. That's his bailiwick. And so you're not looking at the potential to go in and just bulldoze it, which is sometimes the easiest way, is to say, these have been condemned. If they're not fixed up, we want to just tear them down. The building inspector is not gonna give us the ammunition we need to do that. So you're basically looking at cleaning it up and then assessing the costs as taxes against the property. I have no clue what that would be, because I'm not sure, without talking to a contractor, and that's something that, Brandon or Patrick could find a contractor and say, look at this building, what would it cost to fix it up? And you can see from the pictures, I mean, clearly, windows have to be replaced. I don't think anybody's been inside, have they?
There's people that come in at other times, right? Steve?
There's people, kids and homeless people go in there frequently because it's so unsecured.
I brought with me to court several police reports about those issues.
Is there even a roof on it anymore?
Yeah.
Just leaks like.
I know there's a section of it, I think on the southwest corner, I think there might be a collapse of, but I think that room's for the most part empty, but yeah, he still has all kinds of vehicles and other property in there. And he's stated that over the years, he said that just unknown amount of stuff has come up stolen, but he says there was so much stuff in here, I couldn't even tell you what it was anymore, but he says, because kids and people still keep getting in there, more and more stuff keeps getting stolen. And most of the time you can't even tell what it is, just knows that something was there, but now it isn't. Just the security of the building, I mean, it's an eyesore. People are getting in it when they shouldn't be. Find a way to do something that's just secure. I got a call yesterday that the front door was open on it again. That every time the wind blows, that front door pops open because it doesn't latch, and he just uses something to prop up against the door from the inside, and eventually that falls, and the door comes open again, and it's a continual eyesore and a continual problem. So it's a magnet for the kids.
And until the landlord is willing to sink the money in, the only other place the money's gonna come from is you guys, because nobody else can fix that up. I don't know how long, the difficulty is if you're familiar with buildings, cinder block buildings, which is what this is, a lot more sturdy than a wooden building. You get a wooden building, you start to get some rot in there, and it starts to get problems. Now, roof issues there, but, cinder blocks are, they weather damn near anything, excuse my French, but they do. They'll last a long time.
Well, that's why I was asking about the roof, because if the roof is gone, then you're basically down to just the outer shell.
And that's true. And if the roof is failing, that's something where we could potentially have the building inspector come back and re-examine. When was the building inspector last in there? January?
I can't.
Okay. It may be worthwhile to have them re-inspect it. And frankly, if I'm gonna file a lawsuit, I probably would want an inspection within the last 90 days. But that's an option. If council's interested in that, I would say we do a couple things. Number one, we get the building inspector to come back, tell them we're gonna bring a lawsuit, and we need a inspection with a report. And number two, see if we could get some estimates on what it would cost to at least secure the building and provide some safety there. Then we can go to court and say, okay, Your Honor, here's the report, here's the cost. We want you to order him to do it. If he doesn't do it within 60 days, then give us permission to go in and do it and charge the cost back against property. Then when the taxes come up and he doesn't pay it, you could end up with a property, which I'm not sure you want, but on the other hand, if you end up with it, at that point, you could bulldoze it and try to just sell it with a bare lot. I don't know what its value would be as a bare lot.
If that, with that being close to other contaminated substances, are we gonna fall into the same issues we have with the properties across the tracks and
Likely.
Most likely.
so we're gonna inherit for the city another contaminated soil?
The city has the option to take it over.
You can
We could
always,
just,
So
until the next person buys it.
So we could always just bulldoze it and sell the property but
But
once you take it for taxes, then it's ours, or it's the city's.
along with the liabilities.
And if it goes to tax sale, somebody buys it, then it's their responsibility to bring it up.
Or pay back the improvements that were made.
Say we go ahead and have Chuck, let's get the building inspector back, let's find a couple contractors just to give an estimate to get the windows secured, the doors secured, kind of clean it up around it.
I think some of the issues we have, if they're not covered with See, some of the windows, they've got steel siding over it, which is very secure, and that's, if they just go in and replace glass,
I don't think that's.
they're
the
probably
answer.
gonna get broken again, because that's what the kids are doing.
I think that's the answer. I think the answer would be to go ahead and just build panels that go over top the windows, so they're
To
not.
secure that, yes.
That way we can at least secure it, kind of clean up around it. But yeah, having the building inspector come and give us his comments.
Yeah, my understanding is that the heavy vegetation on the east side of the building, which would be the back of the building, is providing cover for people to find ways into it. So that's the hard part, to see if they're coming in from the trail or coming in from areas, and you just can't see them, and they get into the bushes in there, and
Could you get in there
can't
with
see
a
'em.
backhoe and just
Clear the bushes out.
clear the bushes out?
We have cleared around that building, unfortunately just made
The
the outside more visible.
biggest concern is gonna be with a mistake, knowing what's underground. Like, I know fiber runs down the track on that side, we have to be very careful of our fiber, so.
So we can't do anything until we have a court order to do it anyway.
Right, right.
But I was just wondering, is it landlocked back there, or is it something we can get to?
Yeah, see, Brandon can do some of that. I can start putting together a complaint that I can then refer Brandon and Patrick to look at to say, if we ask for this and this, and Steve, if we ask, to secure the windows with not with glass, with steel panels, if we secure the doors, do whatever, will that be sufficient? And that's what the cost, we'll need to figure out what the cost would be. Larry's right though, if the building inspector gets in there and says the roof is starting to deteriorate, that could be enough to allow declaration of condemnation. I have no clue what that roof is. Do you even, is it wooden? Is it steel?
I'm not sure what's above.
Some kind of red fiber.
It's a flat roof though, isn't it?
I don't know if it's all flat roof or if there's an arched section.
I know there's steel rafters in it, I don't know what's on it.
Yeah, I don't know what the materials are.
I think the main part of the
I
building
think
is
it's
a
fairly flat.
arch.
Can't tell. It's been quite a while since I've been in the. I can tell you what the roof materials and stuff are.
See, we have, you and I work together on this with Steve.
We have our directions. Okay, towards that.
Okay, approve Evan Marsh service agreement. Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Evan Marsh has submitted a proposal to provide on-call professional services to the city for next 2 calendar years. This is similar to the agreement we have with Bryan and Newhoff to provide engineering services as needed. It includes a not to exceed amount of $25,000 per calendar year and covers services not covered under its own professional services agreement. The work Evan Marsh is doing to assist the city with the corrective action plan for the ACO will be covered by that agreement. Am I correct?
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve, Marsh service agreement. I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. City staff comments. Jerry. Jerry, you've been smooth down there, John. Oh, yeah. Smooth flowing. Flows have come down slightly since the last council meeting, stayed pretty steady, 550,000. Joe?
Things run smooth. Getting caught up with spring cleanup, it's been really busy picking up brush and bags. There's not a day that goes by that something by the road after we went by. And yeah, it's been very difficult, so we've been trying to stay on top of that. Got some water service lines in. Did get our new back truck. We have accomplished some things that are astronomical. South Madison down here that's flooded probably ever since I've started here should flow now. We had a root cutting device that had laid under the bench since I've started here. It's never been hooked onto our jetter. It didn't have the gallons per minute to push that head. We hooked it up on the back truck. We were rather impressed. We ran it in a barrel contained to see what it did, to know how to operate it. It spins quite faster than we suspected, so we took this down here. Believe that's a 10 or 12 inch main. So we started as small as we could. We didn't want to get carried away, just put a hole for this thing, not knowing what we're getting into. It took us about 40 minutes, and I think we went through about 6 or 7 root masses. And we probably, with what we sucked up in the truck and what we collected by hand, we probably filled a 55-gallon barrel with roots. We didn't get too carried away. We haven't got a camera in there. Our main concern was just getting the water to go down. We don't know what kind of damage these roots might have caused. So we didn't go blasting a bunch of water washing out underneath Madison Street. Right now, we're just gonna concentrate on keeping the water going down, eliminating the hazard in the road. We do have bigger heads that go on this. I do have the truck staged. If anybody wants to go out and look at it, talk about it, see it, know how it works. I did bring the cutter with me, so we can look at that too. We have cleaned 9 catch basins. 7 of those catch basins have been a hazard that's flooded. They are operating, functioning, cleaned out. 1 catch basin was a solid mass of roots, and this thing cut right through it. So, I have expectations that were expected have highly been met, and I see a lot of positive in the future of this drug. So, other than that, I've had all the guys kind of on board learning it. I think a little longer would be great, just so everybody's comfortable with it. We did have the fire hydrant that got hit on Mallory Street. We replaced that, final done, away from the project, I would say in about 5 hours.
Nice.
When the car hit the hydrant, it only broke the hydrant, it broke the valve too. So we actually had to shut the main down. And it was so nice to not be in a hole with a shovel, water pouring in on you, but to have the vacuum setting there, taking the water up, keeping up with it, and not allowing groundwater to backflow into the pipe where our drinking water comes from. So that was great. We had a hydrant, a man, a trench box, and a factor all in the same hole at the same time. And it was amazing. It was just the comfortability that we had doing this project, and in the timely fashion we did it, was all because of that truck.
That was with the large gas main and the water
Yes.
service.
We did have an extremely large gas main in the hole, and the streets here, your hydrants here, we had a water line that went right over top between the hydrant and the road, and we had a gas main here, and we managed to set our box in over top of everything, and fill everything in. Hooked up, backfilled, completed by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, it was awesome. It was extremely nice. Safety felt wonderful.
Take care of your toy.
And this thing's gonna be cherished for a while because it works really well. So that's all I have, sorry. If anybody would like to see it, I'll stick around and show it to you if you'd like.
If it's not pouring down rain.
Or going away.
If I'm correct on this, the company you bought this, they were just treated so well. They just
So Bob is a guy who buys trucks and puts a ton of money into them, sells them before he knows how much goes into them. And, ground equipment, before this truck left their shop, I made sure that we were okay to bring this truck to them if it needs something done. And if we couldn't get the truck to them, I wanted to make sure they would be able to come to us. And both options are available.
That's impressive.
So, when we left with the truck and Bob and I shook hands, he told me he had about $35,000 into this truck, both full of it. He said, sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some, so. They did everything Larry and I had seen that needed done on the truck, they did all that plus a little. This truck never had the new hose reels, we didn't ask for them, he put them on there. The new guns, we didn't ask for them, new heads, we didn't ask for them. That's something he added to the truck, so he was extremely wonderful to deal with. We did have some hiccups in the road, but my thought was, I'd rather they find hiccups there before I bring the truck home than become our headache, so.
Very impressive.
You know, the plant where it was at was very impressive. Because there was, what, $600,000 ones sitting there,
Oh, yeah.
brand new.
No,
But this one will be able to do everything they were doing.
no, but this is a step in the right direction. Big time.
Save money back in there.
Safety.
Thank you.
Steve.
School's out, so the kids are running rampant. Seems like all times of the day and sometimes evening. Wanted to say thank you to Dwayne and Betty Washburn. They've been crossing guards for probably 15 years. It's been quite a long time. Got a call from them today, and this was their last year. They've been upfront with us that, you know, each year they say, yeah, maybe one more year. And it's come to the point where this was the last year, so we will be looking for some replacement crossing guards for the next season. But other than that, everything seems to be going well. Trying to replace some staff, some shortfalls that we've got going on, but that's gonna take time. Other than that, it's pretty much day to day. We're doing our things.
If I'm correct, you would be willing to put someone through academy.
That may be one of our options that we don't have a choice, but what happens is that they're at the academy for 5 to 6 months, and they have a several month FTO on top of that, so it puts it out almost a year before they're viable and actually cover their own shifts, so that may be an option that we have to go through. But yeah, we're always looking for the certified ones that we can get more first, but that may be an option, and there is still some money left to set up the academy, the state grant, so that's what's going very good. But yeah, we're looking at all our options. That's all I have.
City manager's hours. Thank you, Mayor Reinhardt. Just give some good news for change. Eagle has recently informed us that we'll be receiving the overflow sewer grant funds towards the sanitary system lift station project. The total award is $1,329,600, which is huge in helping reduce the financial burden to the ratepayers for this project. Total project cost is just over $2.5 million. That grant of about $1.3 million, and we did get some principal forgiveness of up to $505,000. Depending on the final cost, they'll only pay a maximum of 20%. So if it's a smaller project, it comes in lower, that will be a little bit lower, but we expect the 1% interest loan to be $690,400 versus the $2 million.
Nice.
Yep. We're still probably looking at a 5% increase in sewer rates. We'll take a look at those maybe next month or at least before September, just when we even everything, so. That's all I have.
Council comments, Larry.
Well, number one, took them to death about the budget. Started out with a large deficit between all the staff and Brandon and hard work. We come up just a little bit ahead, which is great, because that's huge. And it took all the staff to do it in the manner the kids, like Steve said, are out of school, so be watching this. Into the washrooms. So,
Bill. So thank you. I know you do a lot of research every time you spend the city's money. Every job is fine. We appreciate it. Wow. Very good job. Steve, it's up to you. Memorial Day went real well. I did a nice speech out of the cemetery. Nice crowd. Brandon, congratulations. Got to be very man. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank the team for a great job. It's a number of things. Sorry, I was a day late. So, if nothing else, I got 3 more trees to trim. Tom first, cut it in the trim. We can drop it up. Now that I'll just put it in the truck. Steve, good luck on cleaning up. Start clean. Hopefully, we're trying to stay. Sure, as always, thank you for all the videos. And the reports are great. Thank you, Steve. Amy.
Yeah, there's not much I can say that hasn't been said. I am super tickled about Jerry. What Bill had to say about Jerry running down there. I mean, I've grown up with him, so I know he's a pretty impressive guy, but
we've got a long way for this.
yeah, I know he's under a lot of stress even to this day with what's going on, but I think it's highly commendable what he has pulled off down there for sure. And Joe as well, he's done some amazing things in his line of work over there at DPW. Appreciate both of you guys very much. Steve, as always, he's with your work too. So just keep up the good work, guys, and Brandon and Tricia, holding down the fort. Put the weights on the roof this afternoon, so we can go off tonight. And thank you, Bill, for coming down and, or coming up or over, whatever you had to do. It's always nice to see you, so. I don't have anything else. So now we need to go into a closed session.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
All those in favor?
I'll pick up with you later.
Alright, I'm gonna go get started.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Support?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Like I said, we get it at least.